Welcome to Family History Fanatics. My name is Devin Noel Lee, and you are?
I'm Andy Lee.
And we love teaching you all about how to climb your family tree, understand your DNA, and write your stories. And today, we're going to come to our census, and we're going to talk about US Census records. I know, so punny, haha. If you're watching live or the replay, go ahead and let me know if you like punny humor as well. So today, we're going to talk about census records. I'm going to go ahead and show you, using the help of my handsome assistant, how to go ahead and look for your ancestors and census records. And then when you have questions, we're going to go ahead and tackle them. So I'm going to search for Cinderella. How does that sound?
That sounds great as long as she's got the glass slippers with her.
Okay. So we're going to go search for Cinderella's census records in the United States. So
All right.
We're going to use Find My Path, FamilySearch, and Ancestry, plus a couple other nuggets that you'll want to know. So let's start with FamilySearch. Did you have it already yet?
Okay.
So where do we go to look for census records?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, it's actually kind of hidden right there because you can't see the research. When you minimize your screen, some things are going to be over in the right bar. So you gotta go get that 3 hamburger stack right there.
Up in the corner.
It's up in the corner. Is it out? Okay, out of this view. And so for this view, it's over on this side. If you expand your view, you should be seeing it right across the top. So we're going to click search and go to the search page. Search records. There we go.
You know what? You can do that from the other thing over here, too.
Okay, I didn't know.
I'll show you.
There's another thing over there.
Due to the coronavirus. Oh, sorry, I said that again. Man.
It's all right.
Due
It's
to
all
the
right.
beer virus, we're having technical
We
difficulties.
don't have to say it anymore. We don't have to.
Oh, wait, no, it's recents. I was thinking that this was...
Yeah, I know. It's very
see.
confusing.
Yeah, okay.
I don't
You're
know
right.
why they would take away search in favor of some of the other ones.
Anyway, search records and
Search
ignore
records.
the beer virus warning. Everybody's helping everybody out.
Right.
All the websites are there for us.
Yes.
That's why they're up and running.
Right. Well, yeah. All right, moving on. So we're going to look for Cinderella Adair. And some of you just know the name of your grandma and you're not entirely sure when she was born. But Cinderella lived in Oklahoma.
She lived in Oklahoma.
She did.
Well, what about where was she born?
Not entirely sure.
Ah.
Uh-huh.
So we want to actually search for a residence here.
Smart guy. Good job. All right.
This is going really
Wonky. Hello, Ralph. Glad you're here for the first time.
Oklahoma. Do we know when she was born?
No, we're going to leave it blank.
Okay.
Going to leave it blank because you do not have to fill out every box when you're searching. And that's the one thing I want to have you take away is that when you research, cast a broad net and then narrow it down. So Cinderella Adair lived in Oklahoma.
Okay, Oklahoma. So we're going to search. All the Cinderella Adairs in Oklahoma show up here.
Yep. Now, there is a census record that pops up first thing, but I want to show you a little trick that some of you may not be using, and that is I want you to filter by record collection only. And so you're going to go to the next tab, not records, but collections.
Collections right up here.
Yep. And so we can scroll down, and here's one of the things that I wanted to point out. So scroll down, not there. Yeah, that
Where
part
it
right
says
there.
census and lists.
Census and list. Look how Oklahoma school records show up. Never thought that would be considered a census, but it is a census of school students. I'm not sure if we're going to need it yet, but we're going to go ahead and look at some other census records as well. So you can, Andy's going ahead.
I clicked on all of them.
You did great. All right, so now what do?
Now we go back to the top and we're going to filter these records. So since those are the only ones that I've checked, it's only going to look at those ones.
Yep. So we can see that there's Cinderella Adair born in 1897, and that seems to be the only one. Well, guess what? That one happens to be the one we were looking for, Cinderella Adair.
Okay.
So what are we going to do next? We're going to click on Cinderella Adair and look at her record. So what you see here is an index page for Cinderella, and if you scroll down, you can see who else is in her household. Well, she seems to be pretty young, and she's married to Louis Adair. Now, sometimes when you're searching in census records, people become hidden because they're using a different name. And sometimes if you want to find more records, you search for the other household members. So we could go and search for Louis Adair and figure out his age and where he's from. Go ahead and unhighlight that with the blue. You can go ahead and search for him to see if you can find more records, because maybe she's in the record by Cindy. Maybe she doesn't want a Cindy there at all. And so
maybe she's Ella.
She could also be Ella. There's lots of different things that you can do. Now, let's go back and do another search strategy to see if we can pick up some other records. And then I'm going to show you how to look for more census records.
Sorry, this is like
being really slow.
I'm not sure if it's
It could be that we have so many files open at one time.
Or it could be that the desk is too floppy or something.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we're back. So
what we're going to do next is we're going to take off Adair.
Okay.
And we're going to just put Cinderella. So one trick is to take off her last name to see if you can find her under her maiden name.
Because we knew that she was married to Louis Adair, so she's got another name that she's probably under.
Yeah.
And we've got the Cinderella Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a Cinderella Johnson, a Cinderella Campbell, a Cinderella Noble. Who knew there was so many Cinderellas? That's like a popular name almost.
Yep. And now notice these aren't all from Oklahoma. Or no, they are all from
These are all from the residence is all in Oklahoma.
Right.
They were born all over the place.
Right. So how do we figure out which one's ours?
Well, probably by the birth date is a good thing, because it was 1907 that our Cinderella was born.
Are you sure? We need to go back and check.
I've already forgotten.
I know, we already forgot.
If you were watching and you know the birth date, help me out here, because I'm having to do more work because I didn't think. 1897. There was a 7, and there was a 9, and there was a 1 in it.
All right. So
1897.
Yep. That's a lot of glass slippers. Yep, there are a lot of glass sisters, and thank you for your humor. Now, one of the things we want to do instead of keeping with this residence is, what if she moved? So now that we have a rough idea of what her birth date is and location is,
because that was just in the 1920s.
1920s.
That she was in Oklahoma. She might not have even been from Oklahoma. Well, no, because
she might not be from Oklahoma.
Wait. Let's go back.
She was born in according to the census record.
According to the census, she was born in Oklahoma.
But the mistakes can happen.
They can.
But we're going to go on the assumption for now, until we need to find out more, that she was from Oklahoma. And now we're going to search for a birthplace. Now just put 1897 in. Just 1897.
You don't want me to put a range?
I don't give that away. Go ahead and cut that off.
Sorry.
1897.
Forget that I said that.
Now, one of the things many beginner researchers do is they only put in specific birth dates.
Oh, okay.
And that doesn't always help us find our ancestors but see, FamilySearch is pretty slick, aren't they?
Yeah, they ignored the fact that I said just 1897.
They did.
They ignored the fact that the range is 1897 to 1897.
They did.
And as we can see from these dates here, they're going to whichever ones they feel like that are near 1897.
Why do you think they did that?
Because they think that we're not smart enough to put in a range, and so they're going to put in a range for us.
Right. So the genealogy trick, when you want to become an intermediate genealogy, is to not look for specific years. You should be looking for, hey, Patricia, glad you're here. And who's this one?
Nurjan.
Glad I got him around, because I would butcher your name. I'm sorry. Anyway, so back to ranges. You usually, when you're looking for your ancestors in records, you want to go 10 years younger and 10 years older than their birth date, because they don't always appear in census records with the specific date or the correct date. Some women like to lie about their ages. You have an ancestor that never aged for 3 decades in census records.
I do, yes.
Yes. And sometimes, depending on when the census record was taken, someone can be recorded younger or older than the enumeration. And so that's why you just want to put in a range. That way you can catch them all. All right, so we have Cinderella Linder from Oklahoma, 1897. We have McMichael, Tidmore, so on and so forth. So how do we know which one's hers?
We don't. We need some other record to help tell us.
We do. And that's the next point of census record research is you can't do it all alone, especially for females. So that 1910 census record, that's actually her family, the Linders, the first one up at the top.
This one is?
It is.
Oh, okay.
And so you can go through and you look for these information. You want to pay attention to where her parents are from. They might actually go.
Actually, no, that was on the other one. That was a clue. Because
Yeah.
when we looked at the other one, her parents were from Tennessee.
There you go. So census records do have clues, and
back.
you want to go ahead, pull it up. You want to make sure that you're looking at the original records as well as the indexes
here.
for these clues that help you know when you get to the potential records that you found the right one. Because a lot of people don't say, how do I know if it's right? One way is for these clues in the census records, and another way is for looking at other records and combining them together.
So here's the 1920 census record where she's married, but it lists her father and her mother's birthplace as Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And then if we go back to this one here, we can see that
Father and
the
mother.
head, Kizzy, female, that's her mother, was born in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. It does not look like her father is there in the census record.
But there's a clue because it said father's birthplace and mother's birthplace.
Yes.
There you go.
It lists that again there. So it ties those two together.
All right. So, but we're not finding her in the 1900 census. We found her in 1920 and 1900. So we're going to...
The 1910? No, this is 1910.
And we went 1900. Why do I want 1900?
Because she was born in 1897.
Yep, exactly. So we're going to leave FamilySearch for now. Sometimes you're not going to find your ancestors unless you hop into another database. They find things a little bit easier for you. But you would keep working in whichever database you have. My next second suggestion is if you were staying on Ancestry, it's go actually look, not Ancestry, Find My Path. Where are we? FamilySearch. Oh, you get so many of these websites floating around your head. The next step, because we're not finding her, would be play around with her name and look for other relatives in that household in 1910 to see if we can find her in 1900. But I want to get to...
Yeah, 1900.
I want to go check out the other websites too. So let's go back and repeat the process, but this time go ahead and close out FamilySearch. We're gonna.
Well, I'm not going to close it out because
you
might
want
have questions later. And we might
Okay,
come back to
perfect.
it. Okay, so Ancestry.
Mm-hmm. So show us how to search for census records for Cinderella.
Well, we'll go to the search. Cinderella Adair.
Dressed in yellow.
Places your ancestors might live. Now, this is any place. So this could be anything.
Uh-huh.
Birth, marriage, death, anything like that. We're just going to say Oklahoma because that's all we put in on the last one.
That's right.
All right. So then it's going to give us everything here.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see, hey, there's a census record there and some other stuff. Mm-hmm. But we want to filter it. And that's over here on our census and voter lists.
Yep.
So if I click on that, it's just the census and voter lists. Mm-hmm. And I can filter it further here by North America, by record date. Mm-hmm. So let me actually do the 1900s.
Sounds good.
And that filters it down, and it's North America, really, is all we're looking for. All right, so this is a little bit better here.
Okay.
So we have 1920 from Tahlequah, which is the same one that we saw on FamilySearch.
Right. So go ahead and click on that. And you're going to see a lot of the same details that are on the other records because it's the same record. So the census records are available for Find My Past, FamilySearch, Ancestry, and MyHeritage. There are some other websites that also provide you access to the US Census records, but these are the ones that I primarily stick to. All right, so when we click on that, actually go back.
No, go back.
Mm-hmm. Now in this particular view, because it's so expanded, could you actually zoom out a little bit?
Let me...
Zoom out. There we go. So one of the cool advantages of working on Ancestry is that there are other researchers who are investigating your ancestors, and Ancestry in the far right column, if you scroll down, will start making recommendations. Now, you still need to validate these hints before you accept them as whole cloth for your ancestors. Do you see any census records over there?
There's a 1900 United States federal census record.
Oh, okay. What about 1910?
We already found 1910. Do we want 1910?
I just want to make sure that we
okay.
see that there's 1910.
Oh, there's 1910. Cinderella Linder.
There you go.
Just like we found her before.
All right. So we're going to go up to 1900. Cinderella Linder. Notice how the birth date is different. On this record, it's 1896.
Okay.
1896. Her race is Indian Native American. Did you know that before?
Oh, before it said white.
Uh-huh. So you need to be tracking the different details that change within your records. And what am I trying to say? Sorry, I'm blanking out. You want to keep track of the changes in the details, because sometimes people try to hide their races in the census records, and sometimes they are required by the enumerator instructions to change. So what kinds of things do we see here?
Well, we see... Whoa, that's the number of dwelling. I thought at first this was 57 people living in this home. I'm like, whoa!
Yeah, that would be kind of wild.
That's just the number of the dwelling. Well, Indian Territory, this is before Oklahoma became a state, so it was called Indian Territory.
Okay.
Part of the Cherokee Nation. And being from Oklahoma myself, I happen to know that Tahlequah, where she married, or where she was living after she was married, that is right in the Cherokee Nation area of Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. There you go. And then what else is a little bit different than the 1900 census?
We have her father.
We do have her father.
And her mother.
But what is the name of her mother?
Eliza. As
and
opposed to Kizzy.
Kizzy. Now, it's entirely possible the 1910 census record enumeration that it did say Lizzie instead of Kizzy. So you will find some transcription errors in your records, or the enumerator made a mistake. It's one or the other. And sometimes when you're trying to find your ancestors, you just have to keep playing around with the names. All right. So she was born in 1897. So that's about the end of her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's click on John.
John. This John?
That John.
Right here from the census.
Not right there from the census. So he was born in 1837 in Tennessee. So that lines up with what we already knew. But we also know that he's in the Cherokee Nation. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to say a guarantee, because I haven't really researched him that fully. But there's a couple of things that you want to then consider. Would a Native American show up in prior records? Well, to figure that out, we would have to go to census enumeration instructions. So can you go to the...
I was just thinking... I'm sorry, I was just
Go
looking.
ahead.
So Eliza, and then here's where this... why she was listed as white in later census records.
Oh.
Eliza in this census record is listed as white. And since her dad, Cinderella's dad, John, was already passed away, it looks like, in the 1910 and 1920, that may be why she was listed as white, because, hey, the mom's white, so all the kids are white.
Right.
As opposed to recognizing her as Native American.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then who was it? Maui said, wow, that's a huge age difference.
Yeah, 30 some odd years almost.
Yeah.
27 years.
Yep. So there's lots of things that we need to explore in the future. Go ahead and click on John Linder just one more time.
Okay, I'm on John.
Oh, you're on John. Sorry. I thought you'd hop back to Eliza. So make sure you check out the hints that also show up. Since it's Indian Territory, one census, even though we don't necessarily call it a census, that is unique to Oklahoma, is the Dawes Rolls. And so you definitely want to go check out him, especially since he is listed in the Cherokee Nation. And if you're trying to establish your Native American ancestry, if you find your ancestor on the Dawes Rolls, that's, from what I understand, that is gold. That tells you for sure that your ancestor has Native American ancestry, if you can make that happen. Doesn't mean if you don't find it, they aren't. It just means that is very good evidence.
They were one of the 5 civilized tribes.
They were one of the 5 civilized tribes So that means Trail of Tears. You've got a lot of history right there. So although I pulled up the 1850 census enumeration instruction, if you go to census.gov, you will be able to find enumeration instructions for every census the United States puts out. So 1790 all the way to the present available census record that's publicly available, so 1940. So earlier somebody asked, when does the 1950 census come out?
It comes out 72 years after it was taken, so that will be like April of 1922. 2022, so we still got another 2 years.
Yep. And so that'll be a really fun year for all of us to be doing that. So scroll down. We're just going to show you 1850 just a little bit. Scroll down until you find the link. I think you went past it. Download instructions, 1850 PDF. Now, it's important that we as US Census record researchers become familiar with some of the instructions that are in these enumeration guides. It helps us know how was the enumerator supposed to classify race? Who were they supposed to count? Where were they supposed to count them? How were they supposed to list their occupation, even to the most minute detail, these census enumerations instructions are invaluable for helping you interpret census records. Now, in these few the ones we showed you, they didn't get into the time period where relationships aren't shown. That starts in 1880. But one of the things that you want to use to help you have an idea of how the people are related in the household is the census enumerator instructions, because they were told how to list from 1850 to 1870, how to list people in the household according to their relationship to that head of household. So you want to come check out these enumeration instructions.
Sorry, I was just reading. I was just reading what the marshals were paid over here. It's really interesting, because, hey, if they were in an area that had more than 1 million people, they received $1 for every 1,000 persons. So $1,000 to enumerate 1 million people. But if it was less than 1 million people, they received $1.25 for every 1,000 persons.
Why do you think that might be?
Because they had to go and find them in some cases.
You had to go farther. And so since you bring that up, many people say, oh, my enumerator just skipped my family because. Well, they get paid by the person they enumerated.
Yeah. I didn't really, I knew that the marshals got paid before. I didn't realize it actually got paid by the person. Because that, brings up a really interesting thing as far as, well, I wonder, is there any people that don't exist that are in there? But on the other hand, 1,000 names to make up, that's a lot of names to make up. Just to get granted, it's 1850, $1.50 or $1.25, but still. So they have a financial incentive to make sure everybody is found and counted.
Absolutely. Now, the state census records, just because they had them doesn't mean they kept them. So get this link and drop it in the comment section. So when you're looking for if the state took a census record, then you can then do a Google search to figure out where that state census record might be hiding. It could be on Ancestry, it could be on FamilySearch or MyHeritage, it could be a lot of places, but Google search is the best way. Just type in New York State Census Record and the year, and then if nothing shows up, it could be that it did not survive to be digitized or made available. But there are some states that, I don't want to call them loser states, but you feel like a loser when your ancestors from them, namely Ohio. They didn't take any state census records, so I feel cheated. But Michigan took state census records.
Let's see.
So what up, Ohio? Why didn't you take your census?
There's Michigan. What about Indiana right next door? Indiana. Lots of stuff. What else is
Illinois?
West Virginia.
Nope.
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 But they have an excuse because they didn't exist until like the 1860s.
Yeah, but a lot of these census records are taking place in 1905 and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I want you, if you see your state on
Kentucky. Ohio and Kentucky, they're right next to each other. They're like, we're not going to do this state census thing.
I know.
Whereas Mississippi, I love this. Mississippi down here, look at this. Mississippi's like, oh, we're going to do it. You want us to do it every 5 years? I'll tell you what, we're going to do it every 3 years. No, we're going to do it every 2 years. No, maybe we'll skip a couple of times, but we're going to do it way more than anybody else. So 1801, 1805, 1808, 1810. What else happened in 1810?
A census.
A US Census. 1816, 1818, 1820. The US Census. Come on.
Right.
So they didn't care that it was just a state one. They're like, they like their censuses in Mississippi until 1866. And then they're like, I think we've done enough. And the latest, though, that I've seen, let's see here, Indiana, 1930. Oh, no, there's Florida in 1945. They were still doing them. And they did them every 5 years, except for they did it 3 years in a row in this 1860s. But let's see, is anything else later than 1945? South Dakota also did 1945. So some of these states looks like they actually took this requirement or suggestion seriously, and some of them, they didn't care about it.
The other thing I want to point out is that it's no guarantee that it's every 5 years. So there is a myth out there in genealogy that the state records come out every 5 years. You will notice, at least I have, when a state is transitioning from a territory to a state, they'll have a number of state census records, and then sometimes it seems like that they tell off with the state census records and just say, the federal will do it. Now,
like
that's
California.
an overgeneralization, but that's what I'm saying. You see that an uptick in state census records until they get their statehood, and then you kind of flatten out.
Yeah, because California, I can't remember when they became a state. If it was 1852. But you can see that they had one in 52 and 44 and 36. But Arizona is another one that looks like, hey, we're going to have one until we can have just enough people. So 66, 67, 69, 72, 74, 76, 80, and 82. Just poo, 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 poo.
Right, because they need to count those people until they can get their statehood. So you can see a lot of history in the habits of the taking of the census record. Some just don't make any sense.
Yeah, some of the states just don't care. Like Delaware. Yeah, we'll take one. That's it.
Yes.
We're part of this union. We voted for this whole United States thing. In fact, it's interesting because now I'm looking, a lot of the original 13 colonies, other than New York, they towed the line, but North Carolina, Maryland, I think, what was one of the other ones down here? Virginia. Basically, they just stopped after the union was formed, even though, hey, we wanted the states to take it every 5 years. And then you have these states joining the union, like South Dakota, they're like, we're going to follow this one. Absolutely. A census on every 5th year after the regular census.
Yep.
And then, of course, like I said, Mississippi, and it looks like Washington also. It's just, some were just census happy.
Yep. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to show you, another resources to find out if you have state census records, click to the next tab, please, is the FamilySearch Wiki. I really do believe that the FamilySearch Wiki is your secret weapon. So go back and hit the back arrow button, just one. Okay. You can type in U.S. State Census in the FamilySearch Wiki, or you can actually do U.S. State Census on the Google.
Or you can save this link, which I'm dropping into the chat.
There you go. Now, it's misleading because they list Ohio. If you click on Ohio, we already know Ohio does not have state census records, but because
they wanted to make sure everybody was represented on that page.
They did. So they took them to this page, and this page is taking you basically to the federal census and then a couple of the other alternate. It's just a generic template that somebody created.
Well, what you should do is you should go in and edit this and make a comment. Ohio did not take any state censuses.
That's right.
Only the federal census is available.
There you go. And we have a link to how to edit the FamilySearch Wiki on our YouTube channel. And since we don't have our video archive link list available, we're going to have to wait until after the live stream to get that. Okay. All right, so go ahead and click all that out. And click that one off. I was going to say, see, Mississippi, their state census records are overhanging out on Ancestry. That was just
so you can find the state census records on Ancestry, on
It just depends.
FamilySearch. Okay, different ones.
Yeah, they're going to be
On different
located
ones.
on
Okay.
different ones.
FamilySearch.
Uh-huh.
That when you're looking at that, there is this section over here of similar historical records.
Yeah. There you go.
And so in this case, we were talking about school records. Oklahoma is one of the places where FamilySearch actually has a awesome collection of school records.
Yep.
And so you can get their registration in school, and it's usually by family. And so you can get that family, basically a census, every single year.
Right. Yeah, I
because
remember
of the school records and the federal censuses.
I remember indexing the records. They're really great. You definitely want to check out that information. And great.
Yeah,
great
if you have ancestries from Oklahoma, tell us where in Oklahoma your ancestors are from.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. Taking advantage of the Ancestry Library Edition at home this weekend. Good job.
Yeah, you do have to get creative when you're looking for an unusual name, and that's actually going to be a topic of another video. How to use the wildcards and the all these other different search strategies. We just wanted to cover the basics because we do, believe it or not, some of our videos are because people ask questions and they're like, let's go tackle that. So we wanted to give an overview of where to look.
Maui's got a niece named Cinderella.
Aww.
They call her Rel.
Oh.
I've never heard that as a shortened form of it, but
maybe they're trying to make her
I've never met a
distinctive.
Cinderella before either. So
Well, I almost was Cinnamon.
yes, Cinnamon Rain. That's
Yeah.
what she was going to be called.
Yeah, I'm so glad I wasn't.
All right, Chris is going to go look up Peter Parker
Oh, very good.
in Smallville, Kansas.
Sounds good.
See if the Kents are in there. Right. So I hope that you all have learned something about the US Census and searching the US Census, that it's available on all the different sites. And as you've seen, the searching on each one is going to give you a little bit different information because they actually, all three of them use different indexes
Right.
that are completely separate. Some stuff is easier to find on one than the other, so use all of them. Don't rely on just one.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye. I got to figure out how to turn it
Hit
off
stop.
again.